welcome to another Practicing Transition. In this episode we're going to look at food sharing as a practice for engagement. As we know, food is a universal connector. Everyone has to eat. There's a few breatharians who say they don't, but them aside, everyone has to eat. So food is a really amazing universal connector. It brings people together. And this food sharing, we can see when people come together, they sit together, they eat together, they connect, they talk, they converse, it's a really amazing, beautiful practice. There's obviously a lot of cultural transitions around food sharing, family dinners, different religious feasts, etc., etc. And in many countries there's always a saying, that a family that eats together stays together. So it's well recognised. The other side of it, just cooking for each other, there's this deep sense of it's a real act of caring for each other. The amount of time you take to prepare a meal for someone else is really special. So eating together really bridges so many cultural, generational and social gaps. So it's a really amazing tool that we can use for really bringing people together in our communities. We can see there's all kinds of different psychological and social benefits. By eating together, bringing people together, we can reduce loneliness and isolation. We can foster companionship and belonging to a particular group. With this brings a sense of trust. Building and developing these relationships. So as you meet each other again and again, develops trust. And obviously when we cook together, that fosters this sense of teamwork. In order to cook a meal together collectively, collaboratively, it requires teamwork. So again, building trust, building relationships. As I say, during the when we're actually eating together, all the different conversations can bring about different cultural exchanges, so we can use it to get to learn not just about each other but about each other's cultural practices as well, so breaking down some of those barriers. It by again coming together, it builds people's self-worth and gives them like a purpose in life, the purpose to actually serve and care for each other, and and the people who are receiving it feel that, and they feel valued. They feel, wow, I'm, someone has cooked for me, and ultimately, let's face it, eating together just makes you happy. So, however you look at it, it's a really amazing practice. As I mentioned, cooking, the act of cooking for someone else is a really beautiful act because it shows a real it's a real amazing gesture of generosity and of love towards someone else. As we know, I can speak for myself, my mum's food was without any question the best food in the world because of how much love she put in that food. We can really feel the love that she puts into, and you can sense. I used to back in the days when I used to DJ and be coming home 5-6 in the morning, sometimes with friends, they'd go to a particular place and have something to eat before they'd go home, and I would never eat there because you could hear the people shouting and screaming at each other, and it was really like, why would I want to bring that energy into my food? Whereas, as I say, when you get home and and you cook for yourself or you cook for your friends, you cook out of love. I remember very often I used to travel through Italy very often and meet a particular group of friends every month, and they were all students, so they didn't particularly have much food in the house. They had some of mama's whatever mama would send, some olive oil, some passata, this, that and the other. There'd be some pasta obviously, and maybe the odd like half dead carrot or something, but they would have some berbere, some Ethiopian spices, and so I would always cook for them. For me it would be, for them it would be breakfast, because it would be maybe 12 o'clock by the time they woke up, after a gig, and I'd cook and I'd serve them this meal, and after a year people would come to me and say, just don't get it, We watch you. We see how you cook this meal, and we've all tried it. It's simple ingredients. It's just olive oil, beurre, tomatoes, and pasta. And we've all tried, but it never, ever, ever, ever tastes the same way as yours does. What are you doing that's different? And I say, you missed one ingredient. Did we? Yeah, love. Because I love you guys. I cook with so much love for you, and that's what's in the food. So, yeah, I mean, food can, as I say, there's so much we can say about cooking for each other. When can we actually do this? When can we find time to have these kind of events? So I would say almost any time. Just make those times. For example, during your meetings, could you invite people to always make some kind, every week or every time you have a meeting, you change, so someone else brings something in, but you invite everyone to cook for each other. During workshops, during my permaculture design courses, I absolutely make sure, especially residential courses, I absolutely make sure that we never ever get catering in. We always cook for each other, because when we hear that this person's allergic to that person for cultural reasons won't eat that, and so on and so forth, lifestyle, this, that and the other, and the amount of love and energy you put into cooking for someone to make sure that the food we prepare is right for them and is right for the whole group, that amount of love that we put into the food is part of the social learning that I'm trying to foster during my permaculture design courses. And you find people who've never cooked before, by the end of it, I remember one person after the second or third course, he was now the lead chef. He'd never cooked before. He'd only cooked like baked beans on toast before this, but now, having spent so much time cooking for each other, he really fell in love with this, and he saw the joy that it brings in people. I've even had someone do a whole dissertation on this practice. But it doesn't have to be just in big long courses, like short courses, workshops, invite people to just bring potluck food, just cook and everyone just shares it. Whatever event you do, just make sure there's food there. You could even organise special events just for food sharing. Maybe if you've got some funding, you can maybe pay for the food. Maybe sometimes you might need to invite people to give you donations. Maybe you just invite people who are cooking to pay for, and divide it up between everyone, where they all bring small amounts of ingredients and collectively you cook together. So there's all kinds of different ways to do it, whether you've got funding or not. One particular project that I remember doing as a transition project is, in a particular area, we identified people who we know are in the community but not really engaging. We don't really see them. They're not so visible. They don't really interact with other communities. So in this particular case, we identified 5 groups. We then went and met different people, and we helped them to organise. We said, look, we've got a space for you. You want to bring your community in, and you just cook for each other, and we'll give you some money for the food. And so we organised one event for each of the 5 different groups to cook for each other. But during each of these sessions, I facilitated conversations where people started to understand, and we really got them to really focus on the things that they do, which is really special, that they would really love to bring and share to the world. Certain cultural understandings or ways of cooking or whatever. So then the next round is we got one group to cook for the next, and then the next to cook for the next, and so on and so forth. So we had another round of sessions where one group was cooking for another, and again we facilitated the conversation, so they got to see, actually, while society tries to say that we are very, very different, actually in many, many, many levels we are just the same. So it started to foster some kind of connection between the communities. And then we had a series of meals where everyone just came together. And I did it this way because I knew that if we invited all of them together to all come to the same place without getting to meet each other before, most of them just would not have turned up, or it would have been a subset of people. But doing it this way, we got a really great got a really good take up, and it was a really beautiful series of events. So we can see many reasons as to why we can cook together and eat together. And so my final thought to you, my final invitation for you to think about is, who are you going to share a meal with next? You know, who are the people in your communities that you would love to share a meal? Who is it you would love to get to know? Who is it you would love to get to connect with, so that you can then see, well, what are the things that we could do, that, you know, what are some of the other challenges you face, and how is it that we as a transition group can start to help you to meet some of those needs. So just get some ingredients, get cooking, and enjoy. Hope you enjoyed that. Thank you very much. Take care.